morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to have a little bit of a look at Shaymin Prism Star. Now, like a lot of cards recently, this has been revealed on the official YouTube channel over in Japan, and like most of the cards we do, though not all of course, it has been translated by the lovely David Hochmann. So let's have a little bit of a gander, shall we? First of all, it's got 80 HP. 80 HP is low. And it's in this awkward thing, right? Because first of all, it's low, and we don't like the fact that it's low. But also, it can't be got with Professor Round's lecture. Professor Round's lecture lets you search for any free Pokemon with 60 HP or less. 80 means that you're low enough that you're like, oh man, that's really low HP, but not low enough that you can be grabbed with Professor Round's lecture, which does make me a little bit sad. The weakness to fire, now what I will say is, right, the HP, along with the weakness to fire, I'm all in favour of. Because the way I see it, the most relevant fire Pokemon is going to be Flareon. I've made no secret of the fact that I think Flareon is like nuts good. And Flareon's first attack hits for a base 30, which means they won't be getting a KO on this. As far as I'm concerned, that's one of the main selling points here in terms of the HP. It's not amazing, it's not good, in fact, but it's not quite the disaster it could have been. See, it's awkward though, because if it was 60, you could get it with Professor Round's lecture, but then it would be one hit KO'd by Flareon, so I suppose there's no way I was ever going to be happy. What does make me happy is the free retreat. In a format where we don't have Floatstone, free retreaters become so much more important. Being able to free retreat a Pokemon after using a Guzma is huge. Being able to free retreat a Pokemon after a KO is huge. I adore free retreaters, especially in a format where we don't have Floatstone. This is wunderbar, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely wunderbar. As for being a grass Pokemon, I mean, it is actually a basic grass Pokemon. So either Paradise Conservation Area will reduce damage done to you by 30 here, which is quite nice. And look, yeah, your opponent can field blower it away, and yeah, your opponent can play down their own stadium, but they've still got to get rid of it in order to not have the damage reduced by 30. It means you can use Lurantis, and there are a few people in Japan that are, but it's not particularly great. But it does mean you're hitting a pretty good weakness on Lycanroc GX, and some other stuff like Lapras, which is not as good as hitting it against Lycanroc, but it's still kind of relevant. And Lycanroc really is one of the best Pokemon in the format at the moment. Now, at this stage, I should remind you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, that in the description, and I've gotten really good at this lately, not forgetting, there's always timestamps. So if you ever want to go, you know what, Wassy, I just want to talk about the attack, I'd rather you watch the whole video, obviously, but if you ever want to flick straight to the attack, then just go to the description. And apparently it doesn't work properly on mobile, but some lovely people do pop it in the comment section, so you can get it there. So what does the attack do? Well, according to David, for 2 grass energy, this attack does 30 damage for each basic energy attached to your Pokemon. Now, David also notes that it's kind of ambiguous whether they mean energy or energy cards, so he doesn't know how it works with Venusaur. My interpretation of this is generally, when they say basic energy, they don't say energy cards, because, well, something like double colorless energy, it's 2 energy, but it's 1 energy card. Whereas basic energy, there are no cards that provide more than 1 basic energy, so as far as I'm concerned, I assume it does count double here, because they didn't feel the need to say energy cards. Basic energy says it all. Not confirmed, but Venusaur, of course, that's the one from Shining Legends. It's got the ability whereby each of your basic grass energy count double. So as far as I'm concerned, this would mean that each of them would do 60 in terms of Shaymin's ability. That is not 100% confirmed, but because there's no such thing as an energy card which provides 2 basic energy, by its very nature that would be a special energy, I'm fairly sure it would count double here. And look, this is a good attack, and while we're here, obviously, one of the most obvious uses for this is Venusaur. Venusaur from Shining Legends is a card which has been used here and there with a bunch of stuff including Shining Genesect, for instance. And it doubles everything up. So here, if you get, say, free energy on the field, you would be doing 90 damage, but then that gets doubled, so it goes up to 180, 210 with a choice band, and everything up to and including like Zoroark GX is going down here. I like this, ladies and gentlemen. This sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. Now, the other card I really need to mention here is Counter Energy. The interaction with Counter Energy here is very, very strange, because it says 30 damage times the number of basic energy attached to your Pokemon. Well, Counter Energy will clearly pay the energy cost of this attack. As long as you're behind on prizes, Counter Energy is any 2 energy. But Counter Energy is by its very nature not basic energy. It is special energy. So on the one hand, yes, Counter Energy will pay the attack cost, but it will not add any damage to the attack here. The last point we need to make in terms of the wording here, and this is a more complicated attack than it does at first seem, there's no grass energy symbol here, so it is any basic energy. So you could, in theory, play this with something like Counter Energy in another deck that just plays other basic energy. I mean, we looked at Morgan yesterday, a very interesting card that has an effect where you've got to discard the 3 other supporters from your hand, the 3 other Battle Chatelaine ladies, but then when you do, you get to look at the top 12 cards of your deck and attach as many energy as you like to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So doing something like that, then whacking a Counter Energy on Shaymin is probably going to lead to you hitting for a lot of damage. It's just a little bit impractical here to be playing a whole bunch of basic energy and then 1 or 2 Counter Energy just so you can cross your fingers and hope to hit the Counter Energy at the exact right time to put it on Shaymin. Although at this stage, I do need to mention Makago. Makago Oranguru is a combo we're seeing in an awful lot of decks at the moment, especially ones coming out of Japan, and Makago lets you put any card from your deck on top of your deck, and Oranguru then lets you draw until you got 3 cards in hand. And essentially, the pair of them together allow you to essentially search out any card you like reliably. So maybe this is viable. I mean, certainly, if you're playing a deck that plays lots of basic energy and attaches them, and you're playing Makago, playing 1 Counter Energy and 1 Shaymin really does not seem like the worst idea ever. And there are certain decks for which this just seems tailor-made. I mean, Rayquaza GX here seems like it's begging for Shaymin, because the attack for Rayquaza does 30 damage for each basic grass and basic lightning attached to each of your Pokemon. So essentially, your goal when playing a Rayquaza deck is to try and get as much basic lightning and as much basic grass on the field as you can. And you can use the Baby Daisy Spirit Pokemon, Latias Prism Star, or you can use something like Vikavolt, and then you're off and rolling. Well, you play Shaymin here, you can attach a grass energy using Vikavolt's ability. Then you can attach a grass energy from your hand, and then you've got both the grass energy on there, and in theory you'll hopefully have lots of basic energy on the field, because that's what the deck is designed to do. And let's not forget the Rayquaza's ability, when you place it on the bench, discards the top 3 cards of your deck and attaches a basic energy from your discard pile to Rayquaza. So quite frankly here, there are plenty of decks where this Shaymin is going to fit beautifully. If you're playing a Venusaur deck, no-brainer. Playing a Vikavolt deck, no-brainer. Playing anything with lots of basic energy and a Makago, no-brainer. And that's not an exhaustive list of all the things with which you can use it. If you go into the expanded format and you look at stuff like Max Elixir, it becomes really good. If you're playing a deck that plays Morgan, it becomes really good. I still don't like the fact that you basically want to get a bunch of basic energy on the field, but one of the best ways to pay the attack cost is with Counter Energy. Although, like I've said, Vikavolt here is really, really good at paying the attack cost easily, as is Venusaur. There's clearly a lot of potential here, and I don't think I like it as much as I like something like Victini Prism Star, because I think Victini Prism Star is an absolute no-brainer in every fire deck. I don't think this is an absolute no-brainer in every grass deck. But I do think it works very nicely. Although I'm not willing to say it should go in every counter energy deck, because of course if you're playing counter energy and you're playing like 4 counter energy, 4 double colourless, well there's no basic energy, so it's not going to work. Let's give it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Not a flawless card, not a card that's going to go in every deck ever, but a card which I can see fitting very, very nicely into a number of decks, some of which are fringe decks, but some of which are proper job metagame decks. So I think that's a fair score. But whether you agree with me or disagree with me, might I suggest you pop your opinions down in the comment section. I would ask you to go nuts while please reminding you the most important rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.